It's 7 a.m. on a Thursday. Of course, my low. No. It's not that. You thought it was going to be that, but it's not going to be that. It's going to be Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. And today, guess what? Y'all can have your cookies too. Good morning, Mary. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And in your defense, it was My LoSo Lifestyle for a very long time.
It was, and
It
you
still
just
is. That's
you just
just my
kindly
brand.
ignored the fact that I just launched into your first show apparently with the wrong title and just let it roll.
That's all right. Well, I
That
mean,
just shows
it
how
was only supposed to be a fun 6-week thing. That turned
true.
into
Yeah, and here we are more than a year and a half later.
almost 2. It'll be 2
Almost.
years September.
Yeah, it will. 2 years in September, which is really pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, it's funny because every time I share that picture of my cookies, I want to make more cookies.
Yeah.
And speaking of that batch of cookies, that's, if you're on Facebook, all the radio listeners, the header picture for today's event was a batch of my cookies that I make.
See if I can
and
find
I call them chocolate ecstasy cookies. They were the first cookie that I made that tasted good after I went low sodium, because surprisingly, cookies have salt in them and baking soda or baking powder. And so they are surprisingly high in sodium. So I tried making cookies without it, and the first few batches, it wasn't that they were bad, but they were obviously missing something. And, they're missing salt. It makes a big difference.
Oh, there's Tony.
Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Dad. So, you don't think of salt as being in baked goods, but it really is. So the first batch of cookies that I made were these chocolate ecstasy cookies. Funny side note is I made some for my new neighbors, and her husband had tried them before she had. So she sent me a message and said, my husband thinks that these are absolutely amazing. He's making weird sounds while eating them, saying it's a chocolate explosion in his mouth. And I said, that's awesome. That's absolutely fantastic. Awesome. And I'm so glad, because I love sharing my food. So I love when people actually enjoy it, especially, they're by no means low fat. They're cookies, for Pete's sake, but
for my sake.
Right. And I think you've had those cookies, but
you've brought, they're free. I can firsthand knowledge. Those things are freaking good. It
was just funny because a few hours later, she sends me a text message again saying, holy shit, these are amazing. Like she hadn't tried them herself. But back on topic just a little bit, you can have your cookies too. The theme of today's show is, I wanted to call it No Diets, because everybody knows how I feel about diets. I hate them. I think they're useless. I think they set you up to fail.
Kind of.
And you need to be able to have your cookies. Obviously, if it's medically impossible for you to have such things, then maybe, sugars and fats and certain stuff like that. Sometimes you're restricted for medical purposes that you really can't have stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the thought is that, you don't need to eat celery and fruit the rest of your life to maintain a perfect lifestyle. And who's to say whose lifestyle is perfect anyways? So you take, for instance, the fact that I eat low sodium. Yeah. And I have a radio show about eating low sodium and living a low sodium lifestyle. I have to be low sodium because I had advanced liver disease. Somebody like you, Pete, who has gout, needs to have sodium.
Yeah.
So unless you have other medical factors that are, outweighing the, severity of your gout, having sodium or having a normal amount of sodium, they've actually seen in studies that it helps reduce the uric acid in your body, which helps relieve the pains of gout.
Yeah.
So if you go on a low sodium diet while you're trying to alleviate pains and issues with gout,
you have bad times.
Right. It's going to take a little bit longer, because the same as me, where I eat the, horrid bananas that I hate so much every day, because potassium helps me eliminate sodium. So it isn't a one size fits all, which is another reason why I hate diets, because they make it that way. They make it that, everybody should be no protein, or everybody should be all protein, and everybody should be no sugar.
All
everybody
this,
should be all sugar.
know that.
Right.
Yeah. And you just can't do it. So
I mean, I wish I could, I should start charting it if I felt that it should take up that much of my time. The amount of times people ask me for my advice, for my help, for my opinion, or the ever famous, what diet are you on? What do you do? And the answer is always, I just eat real food. It's not a complicated answer. It's not a long, drawn out, winded answer. It's literally just, I eat real food.
Yeah.
And even that is not a cookie cutter answer. If you're a diabetic with an insulin pump, or if you're someone like you who eats, if you lick a burger and your feet are going to swell up from a visit from the gouts, as you call it.
Which sucks.
Right.
I love red meat. I do, but I can't. My body is just like, nope.
Right.
Nope. Like, I might get away with it once every, like a teeny tiny amount.
Right.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like a itty bitty taste of beef once every 3 weeks or so.
And that's the same with my liver. How I can go out. So coming up soon, me and my girlfriends, I think this last year was the only year we really skipped. At least once a year, we'd like to go out and just do a weekend or a day. So I think next weekend, we're just taking a day. And I'm really blessed with the people in my life, because, they always ask, like, can you eat here? Can you do this? Or if we all have card night or whatever game night, if something happens, they'd make sure that what is there is something that I can actually consume. But inevitably, I'm at a point in my life and in my health that I can afford to go out and eat. If you and I went out to lunch or dinner or whatever, I can eat there and it doesn't kill me.
Yeah.
A year after my diagnosis, it would have killed me for a solid week. It took so long to recover because my liver works. It's just a very, I have 3 to 5% of it that works compared to your entire liver.
Right.
So it just, traffic jams really easily, which is why I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I eat the way I do 90% of the time, so that, like tonight, I can go to Julianne's.
Well, there you go.
And it's, as far as desserts are concerned, it's the lesser of the evils because they actually make their own custard on site. I'm excited. They just got a new custard machine. Not that that means a whole lot to me, but it means that they can keep pumping out frozen custard for me, stuffed with peanut butter.
Stuffed with peanut butter. Their stuff is all like soft serve, right?
Right. Yeah. Frozen. Yeah. It's just like a soft serve custard.
Yeah.
It's rich because it's made with eggs.
Stephanie says, me too.
Yep, Stephanie's going with me tonight. She's always my partner in crime on my Thursday night ice cream. And if anybody wants to come visit me this weekend on Sunday, I'm going to be at the Cary Grove Farmers Market behind the train station for the entire morning from 9 to 1. So if you want to come and actually say hi to me, that's where I'll be.
Gary can come all the way from Singapore.
I know. It's about a 3-day flight, right, Gary? From Singapore.
He might be there on time.
Sunday.
He might be there by Sunday.
Right. Well, considering it's already Friday for him.
Yeah. So
he's a little bit of a curve, but
Thursday night.
So I had another conversation with someone, and that's exactly what they asked me was, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Like I eat real food. That's it. Last night I had a burger. I wanted a burger, so I had a burger. And I have to be mindful of all of those things because I'm aware of the fact that protein is harder to digest. So I have to, I can't do that all the time. I can't have a burger every single night, even though I could have a burger every single night. It could actually literally damage my liver. Animal protein is a harder molecule to digest, which means you need more carbs and more fat. They got to be complex carbs and good fats. But regardless if they're good or bad, carbs and fat make you fat. So there's a fine balance.
They do.
So as we were having our conversation, and I said, I get why it can be so discouraging, because I've been down that path where I have a doctor tell me, go home, eat low sodium. I'm an organ failure, and that you say eat, it's got to be more complicated than that. You can't tell me, like, nobody would have liver disease in the history of ever if all you had to do was go home and eat less salt. Like, it is so much more complicated. Same with gout and diabetes, and all of these different thyroid issues, all of it. There's so much more to it than just that.
Yeah.
So as I started researching, at the time, I had muscular atrophy. Because if you didn't know this, your muscles, your body will consume your muscles way faster than it will build muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get sick, when you get cancer, when you get hospitalized, even if it's only for a few days, when you have that significant of an imbalance, the most beneficial food for your body is the muscles within your own body. So you literally start, it just atrophies completely.
Oh, I mean, even like I do, I sit.
Right.
I'm a professional sitter. I sit all the damn time. And just getting up to move is not fun. And that's why, walking, treadmill stuff.
Right.
I mean, I don't do it to the point where I'm
but
dropping
even that
pounds.
little bit helps you significantly.
But yeah, it keeps my knees from locking up, and my now I've noticed my hips. I'm not that freaking old. Oh, good morning, Mbonli. Yep.
So it's hard because I get it. So I started doing my research, and of course you look at bodybuilders and what you need: protein to build muscle. So if I have to watch my protein because I have liver disease, how do I eat more protein to build the muscle that I need? So then I find out if I up my carbs and my fat, it helps my body digest the protein. And if I maintain a certain pH level in my body, it also helps digest your protein. And if you eat animal proteins with a vegetable protein like a broccoli versus a starch, like, mashed potatoes or noodles or something, which is, everybody does meat and potatoes. If you actually did a meat and a broccoli, the way that the amino acids are broken down in the broccoli is actually beneficial to breaking down the protein, and it reduces the acid reflux in your gut, and it keeps things balanced. Mm-hmm. So as I'm researching one thing into another, and it's like, okay, so I got to get protein. Well, now I need more carbs and more fat, but they got to be good fats. And now I got to research the good fats and good carbs. And then on top of that, I realized that I need to keep my potassium and magnesium and manganese levels balanced to stop the cramping from having too low of sodium. So it's just this one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. And it's like, holy, and then you're just overwhelmed and go, okay, now what the hell do I eat? What do I eat?
Yeah.
Like, I got to have a steak, but it's got to be broccoli, but the broccoli doesn't have a whole lot of potassium. So I should have this instead of, and then you just say, screw it and have a bowl of ice cream, which does you zero favors when you're trying to get better. So I decided I was just going to eat real food. And that was my solution. And surprisingly enough, that early on conclusion was the right answer. I wasn't going to think about it. I did watch things to a certain level because I had to build muscle. And that took me a solid year to do. But it was just real food. If it was grown or born, and like no cans, no nothing. And if it came out of a can, there was one ingredient in it, maybe two. And that second ingredient was usually citric acid to keep the color and preservative. But that was it. That was all that there was.
Oh, Shayna's got a paragraph for you this morning here.
You're going to have to read that one for me.
Good morning, Shayna says. I was wondering if there is any site online that you would recommend for healthy prepackaged food, if there is such a thing. Pain is the best motivator for better nutrition.
It really is. Yeah. So there's a Healthy Heart Market, has a lot of low sodium options. In all honesty, saying healthy packaged food in the same sentence is kind of an oxymoron. It really doesn't happen. There's healthier options, but when you look at it, there's still a laundry list of ingredients. So if your healthy prepackaged foods are typically, a can of green beans because the ingredients are green beans. And even when you look at frozen prepackaged stuff, you still have to be careful because like peas and spinach have a boatload of salt added to them a lot of the time. And a lot of people would think, well, that's not bad. It's just salt and peas. I can do that. But when you start thinking about how much salt you're actually supposed to have in a day, is that Healthy Heart Markets?
That's what it says at the top.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. So it's not that I'm against prepackaged food, but it's still packaged, it's still processed, and it's still loaded. And oh, look, my favorite spice is Dax. I just ordered $60 worth of spices last night. But I ordered Dax spices in a 1-pound jug. So I go through it a little bit more than the average consumer, but I love their spices. Why? Oh, that's you post. I was like, why did that come up 16 times? That makes sense. So there are the problem with the packaged foods is manufacturing companies are really, really good at labeling things, fresh from the farm. We know the farmers. We are organic. We are this. We are that. And then the ever famous heart healthy stamp. But when you start researching, and same with supplements and things of that nature, they're really good at marketing them in such a way and saying, these clinical studies and this, that, and the other and blah, 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 and proven to do this, proven to do that, proven to do the otherwise. It's really hard. And that's why I stopped eating the majority of packaged foods, because it was more discouraging trying to read the labels of, a pot pie that says heart healthy and it's prepackaged. And I go, holy crap, I love pot pies. I don't feel like spending 10 hours making stock and chicken and soup and thickening it and putting it in and making the pastry, because I have.
I love pot pies too. Chicken pot pie.
I always made them 2 at a time.
Yeah. And I love the Marie Callender.
Right. They're amazing.
Pies. They're wonderful. But even what are they? I don't know whose they are. I can't remember. The tiny little ones that have been around for 800 years.
The Swanson, whatever.
Swanson?
Yeah, the orange.
Yeah, they're like the 99-cent pot pie. I'll throw those in a microwave.
If I could eat it like a Hot Pocket without it falling apart,
it's like the original. Yeah, it's like the original Hot Pocket. It really is.
Right.
But I love those things, and I can only eat the chicken ones now or the turkey. I can't eat the beef anymore. But
I do. I know I say this all the time. I get it. It's not always easy. I don't have kids, but I know what that's like. I know to come home and to have to deal with life and everything that goes on, and work and marriage, and on top of that, feed your kids and make dinner. And I totally understand pulling a box of chicken nuggets out of the freezer. Mm. But at the same time, I had lunch with a girlfriend of mine the other afternoon, and to make a really healthy salad with my own dressing that I make, it takes maybe 10 minutes for me to make the dressing, and then I have the bottle in my fridge all week long. And I keep all of the stuff. It's all prepackaged in my freezer and in my fridge and in my pantry. So I've got, dried apricots that don't have sugar added, because you got to pay attention. I get them at one store, and it's an entire day's worth of sugar in one little serving of 4 or 5 apricots.
Yeah.
When you get the dried apricots, I can get them at Jewel here in town, and there's no sugar added. The ingredient is apricots. Dice them up, put them on your salad, and they are loaded with potassium, which is great for me. So I can make, that goat cheese salad with grilled chicken in 2 seconds for a lunch with a friend. And the same with the chicken fingers. Those chicken tenders, if you pre-season them and freeze them in packets, and if you have an air fryer or a convection oven, you throw them in the convection oven, And it's not much different than chicken nuggets. The difference is you get rid of all of the processed crap that you're feeding your kids. So it is a lifestyle change. It's not easy to switch, but once you do, even now, I haven't made my own pasta or bought a jar of pasta sauce. The classical pasta spaghetti sauce is actually fairly low. It's doable for me on a low sodium diet. It's 350 milligrams on average for a serving of spaghetti sauce, which is very doable for me. But it takes me the same amount of time to make my pasta sauce as it does to open a jar of that. So by the time my water starts boiling and I saute onions and dump San Marzano tomatoes and some balsamic and a few seasons,
you're done.
And if I want to add burger or steak or something to my pasta sauce to make it a bolognese, I can.
Yeah.
So once you get in that routine, it's no different. It literally, the 10 minutes it takes me to boil noodles, I make a sauce from scratch versus opening something from a jar with a bunch of stuff in it to keep it preserved on a shelf forever and ever and ever.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that you can actually make a sauce that quick, especially if you're only, you're not making like a mountain of sauce.
I'm not canning it for 6 years.
You're not canning or anything. You're just making it for the meal.
And you can, if you want to go down the path, and honestly, right now, not from a hoarding prepper pandemic kind of aspect, from a pure cost savings, and reality is the price of feed has skyrocketed. And on top of that, we're in a drought. So it's going to get worse.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Because it was like rainy
for a minute.
From a minute this year. But the last, 3 years, once it hit March, it did not stop raining here in Chicagoland until November.
We flood it every year. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've been printing "We're open" signs because the roads are flooded and the river's been so high.
Yeah.
But we're in a drought, and it's not just our little community. It's like the whole, farm belt here in the Midwest, Mideast, wherever the hell we are.
Mideast? I don't think we're in the Middle East here.
Whatever. The middle of nowhere in our country that is all farmland.
Yeah, all farmland. Illinois, Ohio, Missouri, Kansas, all of that. So
it's going to get worse, which means the price of beef and the price of protein is going to go up. So I am considering going to my farmers and getting, splitting a cow with someone and splitting a pig and load, because I have a stand freezer in my basement, and just loading it up simply because I don't want to pay 3 times the price for some ground beef in 5 months. And I have that luxury. But then it also, by doing so, I have that readily available in my freezer, and you can pre-package stuff yourself. You make tacos, make a huge batch of tacos.
Shana, I considered putting a down payment on some steaks at Costco yesterday. Wow, good advice. But I haven't actually looked at the price of actual meat for a bit. It's going up. But and Gary's giving us the global weather report here today. That's all the weather you're going to get here on 216 Net. Because we don't do weather on this station. Main reason we don't do weather. We want to. Yeah, we can guarantee the weather every single moment of every single day. I can guarantee the weather is outside. You want to know the weather? Look out your damn window. There you go.
It's sunny and pine tree outside now.
Yeah, we have a sunny pine tree. out our one window in the studio.
Weather channel said sunny and pine tree.
Sunny and pine tree. There you go.
But yeah, I've been, I already bought quarter of a pig this spring, and I love everything about having that fresh, locally raised pork in my freezer that tastes amazing.
Bacon does seem to be, because I have bought bacon, because I can eat bacon without dying the death of 1,000 gouts. But
it's because of the salt.
Goodness, excuse me. The price of bacon seems to be going down. I found a lot of really, good but inexpensive bacon.
It'll depend, if it's the expiration dates and if it's going to expire. Not that it's going to expire anytime soon, but if they have other product that's not, they have to rotate things.
I've never worried about the expiration date on bacon, because once it comes into my house, bacon has a shelf life of about 5 minutes. Yeah.
the amount of time it takes to hit a pan.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, we had bacon buddies last night for dinner. So
we had giant half-pound burgers last night.
So
I asked Ben if he wanted to do like quarter pound and maybe double it up and do a double burger, or just singles, and then if we were still hungry, and finally we ultimately decided to just be fatties and have half-pound burgers last night. So.
There you go. I will tell you, I have been eating the veggie burger things.
Fake meat stuff.
Yeah, the fake meat stuff. And at this point, it's been long enough that it tastes close enough to beef for me to be okay. And actually, some of it's the texture on some of the different kinds was a little weird at first, but now it's like, oh, hey.
No matter what you do, there's always going to be a certain amount of almost grittiness to a vegetable burger.
Yeah, but now I'm actually I don't mind it at all. In fact, I get kind of yay a veggie burger. It tastes kind of like beef. And
that's again, you have
I'm not
to find
unhappy
those
with it. Yeah. It's because before somebody offered me a veggie burger, I would likely have just kicked them out the house. But
and they are getting better, and that's why I say it's not. Packaged food is not for me. But I'm I guess what you'd call an extremist. I'm all or nothing.
You extremist, you.
Yeah, I know. I am. I'm all or nothing. It was either get rid of all of it or just say screw it and live a salted whatever life.
Yeah.
So I'm very sensitive to those things. I can notice very quickly. Now, what that also did by being so restrictive in the very beginning and doing a fast and doing an elimination diet, it afforded me the luxury of finding out that I was also nightshade sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So now I haven't had an issue with my allergies in years. Because I discovered that I grew nightshades. I grow tomatoes and zucchinis, and I'd have tomatoes with breakfast and tomatoes on my sandwich and zucchini and grilled zucchini, and I was eating nothing but histamines. On top of that, I was eating nightshades, which I'm sensitive to. So by having that elimination diet, I discovered that. So being mindful of the amount of histamine-loaded food that I consume, along with foods that I'm sensitive to, and my acupuncture, I have not had an issue with my allergies. And this is the first year that it's even remotely bothered me. And it's only in the morning I feel a little bit of stuffness because it's the tree pollen from the drought.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed.
Suffering.
And I've even noticed that, like, even on my car.
Oh, yeah. It's like a blanket every day.
Yeah, it's like a blanket every day.
Yep.
And even for me, I really don't have much in the way of allergies to those things, but my throat has been so dry lately. And it's just, Kent, what is Kent chiming in here? Pete, the more green leafy veggies you eat, the less inflammation you will have. Thus, it won't hurt to get out of your sitting position.
It's true.
And that is true.
Hey, you've been eating more vegetables in the last 4 or 5 months.
I have.
Than your entire lifetime.
Pretty much, yeah.
I've heard you mention carrots like twice.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
pretty proud of you.
I ate, I ate some, I actually ate carrots the other day. I ate some cauliflower and some broccoli. And
I ate an entire can of green beans last night with my dinner. Like I
did too.
I love green beans.
I ate the green beans as well.
Yeah.
The other day, what did she give me? I can't remember. But I came home again. My wife is freaking amazing because she makes my favorite food in the world, which is the food that just appears in front of me. And apparently I ate an entire can of green beans.
The funny thing is, that's supposed to be 3 servings, and I laugh every single time.
And it was good.
I can eat the whole can.
It had like some little onion bits in there, and
should ever put
some pepper
sun-dried
in there.
Tomatoes in there, because the sun-dried tomatoes make it taste. It gives it a bacon aroma. So like those egg bites that I made that you love,
those are friggin' awesome. Yeah.
And you asked me if there's bacon in them.
Yeah.
And there was no bacon in them. It was just that sun-dried tomatoes the sun-dried tomatoes I get are the I think they're called Sun California or something, whatever. They're at my grocery store. I read the label, and there's nothing in them except for a little bit of hint of sea salt and tomatoes. So they're low sodium, and see, I can't do I've tried the kale chips. I don't much care for them.
I don't care for kale at all.
And I tried them 3 times. I made them, I bought them, and I made them again myself. And I can't. I'm not a big kale chip person.
Me neither. I actually tried the kale, and I'm like,
they're crunchy and it's great. And I made them, and they were good. But I would have to make a bag, like a 40-pound bag of kale chips to satisfy me.
I don't like the kale. I just don't.
I don't really think it tasted like kale. Once they're dehydrated and crispy, it just tasted crunchy.
I don't like the kale.
But yeah, it was just between having conversations about, what other, and I've always been the advocate of, if you're doing something, I'm happy for you. You know what I mean? Like if you're making an effort, I don't care what that effort is. Like you'll figure it out in your own time. And I know that a lot of the supplements and things like that, they work for people. Because if you're going to eat garbage all the time, but you're going to also live on supplements, it does help. But again, it's a supplement. It's meant to supplement something you're not getting. Like when I eat iron pills to supplement my lack of iron every 3 or 4 weeks.
I have to take an iron pill every day. Well, it's every day.
Right. You have blood oxygen in level. I have, anemia and all sorts of other things that are made worse by being female. So I don't have a choice. I can't physically consume enough iron to get what I need at least once a month. Sorry,
you're female.
Right. Yeah. I identify as grilled cheese sandwich.
That's right.
I'm a female grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
But and I was on a lot of supplements. I was on potassium and magnesium and iron and all of these different things because I couldn't consume what I needed to consume.
That's good, Shana. She says, they say you can't outrun a bad diet. That's why I don't run.
Right.
Right there with you.
So it's not necessarily that they're bad. It's that when people rely on them. So there's an article I was reading, and I love what it says, because all of these times you read something and it touts that studies have shown that this, reduces that, it reduces this, it improves this, it does this, it, cures you of all your ails. Dip dog shit in honey and rub it on your face 3 times a day, and studies show that it's going to, cure cancer.
Studies show you're a moron that put dog shit and honey on your face.
And on the bottom of the screen, it says these statements have not been validated by the FDA. So, and I get it. I'm not a big fan of the FDA either, or the FTC, or like all of them, because of numerous reasons, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other show.
Yeah.
But I do love science, and I'm all about it. And I'm all about clinical trials and studies. And I read more stupid clinical studies than anyone possibly should that isn't in a medical field. But whenever you see stuff like that and you actually say, okay, where was the study? Let me read the study. Like actually look up, go to PubMed, go to wherever they reference, because they have to. If they say that they had a clinical trial or any kind of trial whatsoever, or studies show, they got to show and cite the study that it came from. And if the study says, well, Pete took it for 3 months and he wrote an article and said it made him feel better, you can go, I don't know how much validity I'm going to give to the efficacy of that study.
That's Pete's study. That's not,
right. So you want to read the study and you want to ask a few questions. And you want
blind clinical trials too.
Right. So was the study done on the actual product as sold? Or was it just done on one or more of the ingredients? So if you're taking a pill that's supposed to make you feel better or whatever, was it just one component of that pill, or was it an actual trial or a study, even an anecdotal study on that pill in a person as it was meant to be sold? Was there a control group? Was it a clinical study in humans or just in animals or on cells in a lab? Because that also makes a big difference. Because if you take cells in a petri dish in a lab and put lemon juice on them, it'll kill cancer cells. So then they go to phase 2 and they say, okay, so if lemon kills cancer cells, what of the lemon does it? Like, is it just purely acid on cells by themselves in a petri dish, but in an actual live environment, protected by everything else in your body? Yeah. You can't inject acid into your arm and be like, I'm going to kill
raw
this. Well, I mean, I guess they
citric
do it with
acid.
chemotherapy, but so was it, on a cell in a petri dish, or did they go to phase 2 and phase 3 and start testing the components and so on and so forth?
I'd be more inclined to believe Gary's study here that show that there are two groups of people globally, those who eat bacon and those who have yet to.
I would agree with that study.
Yeah. So I would say, that's probably pretty much correct. So
the other one is, did it show meaningful clinical benefits, like reduced incidence in infection, or did it just show surrogate measures like changes in lab tests?
Yeah.
And then did the study show that the product works for humans when used as it would or as it was meant to be bought? So when you start asking these questions and you look at, especially, and everybody, it's not that I'm against supplements or homeopathic medicine. Everybody knows that I love my oil oregano. And yeah, my dad says, who funds the study? Absolutely. You always want to know who the funding behind the study is.
Yeah.
Usually it's funny because the geeks in the lab that study all this usually have a genuineness to their study. They want the science behind it.
Yeah.
And then once they discover something, that's when the pharmaceutical companies run with it and say, it cures your gout, but it causes brain tumors. So we're going to cure a bunch of gout people and deal with the lawsuits later.
Well, and also it's interesting too, when you go through a peer review, in the scientific community.
Yeah.
And I know somebody who is the author of a fairly significant scientific paper. And when they were going through the publishing process, it goes through the peer review. And one of the people within a community that heads up the publication for this particular area of science, I'm being vague for a reason so as not to expose the innocent here, but this particular person has a history of, because they can, making people cite their own paper as it relates to whatever subject matter might be coming through. And there was a lot of, not fisticuffs, but a lot of verbal argument and verbal back and forth, almost fighting, in order to get this paper published, because what this other person wanted cited, their own paper, had no bearing and no accuracy on what was actually being published. So again, these studies go through a lot of processes before they're even brought to the public through whatever form of publishing they go through. And there's always someone who wants their own, hey, if this is getting published, I want my name on there.
Well, that's what's funny, because, when you go to like PubMed and read medical publications, and it's not an easy read. I'm telling you, it's not easy for the average person. And I am, even me, who's read a million of them, and even for me to understand half of this is ridiculously insane. And even if I ask my doctors about it, they're not that kind of doctor. They're not ones in a research lab that, how the cellular structure breaks down. And there's different types of that kind of doctor. And just because your doctor can diagnose your, cold or flu symptoms or your gout or your liver disease doesn't mean that they can go, oh yeah, I totally know I can read the efficacy of a cellular structure study based on the protein modules. They get it, but it's not what they do. So when I read these studies and you see that time and time and time again, across pretty much all of them in PubMed, just about anybody can publish anything on PubMed. And then their peers get to read it and everybody else gets to read it. And then they, do more scientific studies and so on and so forth. And it's just kind of like a law thing where one study backs another, just like a case study backs another. But as you read them, it's time and time again, all of these essential oils and the supplements and all of those types of things. It's not that they're bad for you. It's that what they're saying that they can do there's no claim, there's no clinical study that says there's any evidence to support it.
Right.
So even when you look at, because I'm obviously a huge proponent of acupuncture and all of that type of medicine, and they do a lot of that kind of stuff where, you do herbs and supplements and things like that, but it is exactly that. It is a supplement on top of an entire lifestyle. You eat a certain diet, and you have, hot and you have cold, and you balance all of that together. It's not take this pill and you'll be good.
Right.
It's a balanced lifestyle that they promote.
And seeing exactly to your point, Shayna says, why would we dismiss observed improvement in favor of clinical deduction?
Right.
If it works and it doesn't hurt anyone else, why not do it?
Right.
Old wives' tales and such. Shayna says, I've taken care of countless issues with hydrogen peroxide.
Correct.
For instance. Yeah, hydrogen peroxide, you pour it on it. It doesn't feel great.
Right.
Pour it on a cup, but it'll clean you right out.
Well, it's the same like with my oil of oregano. There's only one clinical study that I found to date that shows actual scientific proof that it does what people that, clinical deduction of sorts, where it says, because oil of oregano is touted to be antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial without killing the beneficial bacteria in your gut. So the observed medicine proves that a significant amount of people who take it, which is why it's a popular thing and was sold out as soon as the pandemic started, because of that. But in an actual clinical study, and the problem is a lot of times they just haven't done the clinical studies, because that's not where the money is. Money is not in treating people. Money is not in curing people. Money is not in curing people. Money is in treating people.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not that it's not there. It's that you need to research and say, okay, what's the better alternative? Because so many people are looking for a pill to make them better when you need to look at the lifestyle that's going to make you better. And for someone like you, having a balanced sodium diet with a low protein diet is going to be better. Whereas somebody like me with a higher protein to keep my muscle strength and the low sodium is going to be better. So, when I talk about my low sodium lifestyle, it's not that it's everybody should be on low sodium. Everybody should be low salt. There's people that have to take salt because their body doesn't absorb salt the way it's supposed to.
Right.
So it's kind of across the board. It's aggravating to me, the amount of people that, and it's pretty much everybody wants a pill. They want a quick fix. They want an easier answer than eat real food.
Yeah.
Well, that's the answer I got.
Well, I mean, let's face it, real food does not taste like a Twinkie.
No, but I make pretty damn good cookies that taste pretty close.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just Twinkies, ding-dongs, ho-hos, Suzy Q's. Yeah, those things are, I wouldn't call them real food, but, I mean, they've got real food elements in them, but...
Well, that's what's so funny about whenever I cook for people, and even years ago, I remember a friend of mine making a comment about they had stopped by unexpectedly, and we had more than enough burgers or whatever, steaks or whatever it was we were cooking, we had more than enough of that to feed her and her son. But because it was just me and my husband, I only made a small batch of mashed potatoes. So I had asked her, like, if you guys want mashed potatoes, are you going to stay for dinner? I'll just make some. And she's like, oh my God, no, we'll just have a burger. It takes so long. They went out and had a cigarette because we still smoked at the time. Came back in, and I was almost done with dinner, and she was just like awestruck that I made mashed potatoes so quickly. All her life, she was boiling the whole potato. Like a whole, like she'd put the whole potato.
Oh, good Lord. Then you'll be waiting for hours.
Right. Whereas I cut it in little tiny chunks and boil it that way and then mash it. So it takes like 9 minutes. So she was just shocked by that. And it's the same with everything else that I cook. When I go to make a salad or make something else, you know, even last night for us to make burgers, and there's diced onions already in the drawer, and there's if it's already, it takes a little bit of time right after I go grocery shopping, you know, to slice up my fruit or do whatever. You know, right now I have 2 smoothies frozen in the freezer. So, it's better. It's not 100% better than ice cream, but it's a lot better than ice cream. So you don't have to eliminate all those things from your diet. You don't have to eliminate the desserts and the ice cream and all of the stuff. You just have to pick the better option.
Yeah.
So, you know, the crappy, cheap, loaded with preservatives and all sorts of stuff, ice cream versus a berry smoothie, there's a big difference. And it's still really freaking good. It just doesn't have the 70,000 milligrams of sugar that I don't need. It's got the sugar from the berries. And then, of course, now outside of baked goods, I only use honey. But I can't use honey in my cookies because honey doesn't cream with butter. So it doesn't chemically react the way it's supposed to make baked goods. You need the way that sugar reacts and acts as a liquid is different. So if you want a cake to turn out, you gotta use certain things. What did she say?
Shayna says, OMG, I am today years old with the potato revelation.
Yeah, if you take potatoes and I should do a whole show about potatoes, onions, and garlic.
Yeah.
Because not all potatoes are the same.
No.
And you want certain potatoes for like potato salads and roasted potatoes, and other potatoes that are more starchy for mashed potatoes and things of that nature. I personally like, even though it's more of a potato salad kind of potato, I like the red potatoes for my mashed potatoes.
Do you?
If I'm going to mash them chunky.
Oh, okay.
If I'm going to make pommes aligot, which is a French version of mashed potatoes with Gruyere cheese and a boatload of cream, and it puts you in a coma and literally pours out of the pot, then I'm going to use a russet that's really starchy.
A russet, like
but
a nice
if you have
big
your pot of water,
like a baker too,
and you peel your potatoes and you cut them in little less than 1 inch cubes and put them in your water just so that the water covers the top of your potato, not 6 inches above your potato, and you boil it for about 10 minutes tops. Literally, I set a timer for 10 minutes, drain the water, put in my butter, my cream, my garlic, and mash it. And you have mashed potatoes in 10 minutes.
And you bring your water to a rolling boil before you put them in?
No.
No?
I put them in cold water. Yeah. And as soon as it comes to a boil, hit my timer for 10 minutes. If I'm making potato salad, it's 8 minutes. Because
I've done that with, I call it the lazy way. You know, the little bird's eye package of they call it the hash browns or the country potatoes or whatever that you're supposed to throw in a skillet and fry. It'll do the same thing if you throw it in boiling water for just a real short time, throw it in a strainer, throw it back in with a little milk, whatever, mash that stuff up. You got mashed potatoes in a heartbeat.
So the other trick that I do with potatoes, because everybody knows I'm a potato slut and I love potatoes and eat potatoes every which way you can possibly have potatoes. Oh, yeah. So my dad, he's down in Florida, so he's already got a damn near full garden by now.
Yeah.
When I make potato salad, if at the halfway point ish, maybe just past the halfway point. So if I'm boiling them for 8 minutes, at that 4 to 5 minute mark, put literally a cap full, like a tablespoon of vinegar in the water, and it firms up the outside of the potato, and then the inside gets mushy. Not mushy, but so whenever you make potato salad and if you cook them too far, they disintegrate.
Yeah.
So when that little bit of vinegar keeps the outside of your potato with a little bit of bite, so it holds once you stir in all of your dressing and all the other stuff, and it makes it nice. It works really well with French fries too.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. I love everything about potatoes. We should do a whole episode about potatoes because I can talk about potatoes.
Potatoes are awesome. My favorite are tots. I love the tater tots, man.
I had
Crispy.
some the other night.
Did you really?
So there's
Wow.
the cheapo off-brand, jewel brand tater puffs
Okay.
are low enough in sodium that I can have them. Because the nice Ore-Ida tater tots. Jesus. That was a hard one getting out. They're like 420 or 460 milligrams for like 8 tots.
Oof.
Which, and I love taters. I'm not going to spend half my day's stuff on tater tots.
Yeah.
And there are low sodium ones that just none of our grocery stores sell them. And it stinks because when I first got diagnosed, there was like virtually no low sodium products. And then with the whole health craze, the low sodium products skyrocketed. The same with the chicken and stuff like that, where it stopped being all brined, and now it's pretty much just the turkey that's brined.
Yeah.
But now that it's kind of old news, it's dipped off again. So all of the companies that had low sodium products, like Hunt's with their tomato ketchup and Lay's with their potato chips and stuff like that, they just don't sell enough. So they're pulling them off the shelves. So now it's becoming more and more difficult again to find any of those products in the grocery store outside of having to order them. So sadly, us low sodium people have to resort to other means. But I will say that soup is still the one thing that I will not buy low sodium. I don't know what they do to it, but it tastes like garbage.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I do that's so different with my soup that makes it not taste like garbage and still be low sodium. But every time I taste low sodium soup, I don't know if it's the potassium chloride that they put in it to make it seem salty, but it just tastes
gross
garbage to me. I can't do it. I don't get it. I pulled soup out of the freezer the other day to have.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not much of a. I mean, occasionally I'll have some soup, but it's usually a cream of something.
I love cream soups.
Yeah, so it's rarely just an actual soup. It's usually a cream of.
As soon as I get a new refrigerator, I will probably start storing more and more of the stuff that I used to. Because for the longest time, I had pot pies, and even now I've got pulled pork in my freezer. But when you store stuff,
pork pot pie.
Oh, see, that sounds really good.
Yeah,
I might have to make that. Pulled pork pot pie.
Yeah, pulled pork pot pie.
Yeah, I might have to.
Could you imagine? Wow.
Oh man.
Throw a little corn in there, a little peas, a little carrots, a little bit of
taters.
Maybe, yeah.
Little tater chunks.
Little tater chunks.
Oh, see, instead of a pot pie, if you did a pulled pork, but a tater tot top. Almost like a pulled pork shepherd's tater tot pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to make that.
There you go.
Sorry, guys, we're brainstorming.
New
about
things.
food.
New things right here. You heard it first.
Tater tot, pulled pork, shepherd's pie.
There you go.
Cottage pie, depending on which side of the fence you sit on.
In a pot.
Yeah, in a pot.
With a crust. There you go.
But yeah, you can have all of these things, and it's not as difficult as you think it is. And I mean, I know a lot of people that don't like cooking, but if you just make a bigger batch, you can prep in advance, just like other people do. You just make big batches of it.
Yeah.
So if you make pulled pork, or if you make tacos, or if you make anything, you make, even soups, you make a big batch of it and then freeze it. I'm going to trademark that.
Yeah. Knock yourself out over there in Singapore. We'll get that on. We'll get on over here in the USA. So.
But it's so easy. And then when you have it,
tater pork pie,
even mashed potatoes. For the longest time, you would look in my freezer when I had the space, because my one freezer is now full of meat. But when you freeze things in Ziploc bags and you lay them flat, so they're literally paper thin. And then anytime I wanted something, I'd have taco meat, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, acorn squash, spaghetti sauce, bolognese sauce, soups.
Yeah.
All of these things. And they're just stacked like little records in my freezer. And you just dig through them. And depending on how many people are eating is how many bags you take out to make whatever. And it made it so that I could have instant mashed potatoes and all of these different things. Or even the crock pot meals. You can throw it all in a bag and then just throw the whole bag in a crock pot. Same with smoothies. You just buy the fruit on sale at Costco or Sam's Club or wherever, or fresh fruit, and then you chop it up and put it in little individual servings. And then all you got to do is dump that into a blender, add some milk or yogurt, and you have a smoothie.
Oh, there you go.
So it's surprisingly easy to prep these things and eat real food all the time. Because when, like you Shayna had asked earlier about, healthy prepackaged food. There's healthier options in prepackaged food, but the nature of packaging things, unless it was canned or frozen at harvest purely for preservation, the vast majority of them have so many different things added to them. Flavor enhancers, different acids and preservatives to preserve the colors.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. When, your green beans don't have to be vibrant, bright green.
No.
Same with your broccoli. There's a way to do it. You can blanch them and do whatever, and that's what most places do just for that purpose. But it's funny because once you start eliminating all those things from your diet, I still have to rinse my canned green beans when all it is green beans, because the citric acid that they put in there as a preservative, I can taste it, and it's gross.
Well, you don't want fruity green beans. I mean, and to me, that's what the citric acid gives it. I associate that with a fruit. That's a fruit taste to me. And that's why I don't really like, it's citric acid. I don't want my green beans to taste like freaking oranges or lemons or any. I just associate that with that.
Any green other than radioactive luminescent green. That's funny.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, radioactive luminescent green is attractive. It's a fun color if you're a superhero.
Yeah, not really an edible one, though.
No, not edible.
You might want to pass on that one.
But it's fun. It's pretty to look at. So,
but yeah, I would say that, visit your farmers markets. And if you're here locally in the area, we've got a group, Fresh from the Farm, McHenry County, to help find you those farmers markets. But you can eat healthier and you can eat all the time. And a lot of times the easiest way to do that is grill. Because it's really hard to add a bunch of crap. I mean, you can, barbecue sauce and whatnot. But it is much, much easier to stay on a real food diet if you're grilling your foods.
Yeah, it is. Well, we're about 2.5 minutes out.
Oh, that's like an eternity.
So, yeah, I know it is.
We can do a whole other show on the radio at 2.5 minutes.
I know you can. But so how do people find you? Where do they connect with you? If they want to learn more or visit you, how do they do that?
So you can find me on my website, mylosolifestyle.com, My LoSo Lifestyle Facebook page, and then, of course, My LoSo Lifestyle and 21/6 The Net YouTube pages. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube pages. The more subscribers we have, the more things that we can do and luxuries that we have. If you're here locally in the area and you actually want to come and say hi to me, I will be at the Cary Grove Farmers Market in downtown Cary this Sunday from 9 to 1 with the local Rotary Club who's trying to raise some money for their pavilion. So if you guys want to come see me, I'll be there. And then, of course, on Thursdays, I usually go and have ice cream at Julianne's. But I don't think, Gary from Singapore or my dad in Florida is going to make it out for that one.
They could try. So
you can have ice cream with me in kind and just have ice cream tonight at 6:00 and cheers to my ice cream custard.
Yeah. So if you happen to be on Facebook, go find Mary, My LoSo Lifestyle, or again, mylosolifestyle.com.
Oh, Tammy just joined. She's the owner of a sandwich shop here.
Oh, well, tell us about her sandwiches. You've got 30 seconds.
Oh, see, it's a deli. I think it's Nana's Deli in Crystal Lake, and they make almost like New York Katz's Deli. The big giant, like 6 pounds of meat on each sandwich kind of deli sandwiches, which is obviously not low sodium or anything that I should be eating, but they are absolutely fabulous, and I've ordered them for my crew a couple times.
I wonder if they do like a turkey or a chicken.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I
could probably check that out.
It is amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff. So, we got a lot of fabulous places in this area that make really damn good food.
That's awesome.
I have to say that.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back again next week, Thursday, 7 a.m. for Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp.
with me. This is a great